Hey everybody, it's Brian from Broadway Buzz. It's a great day to be on Broadway, off Broadway, wherever you are, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Australia. I'm just so happy to have you here. Hope you are staying safe. Hope you are reminded that you are loved, you are appreciated, and we're so happy to have you here for Phantom of the Opera Day. This is so exciting. I have two incredible actors that you may recognize from the show. We have Ramin Karimloo and
Hello,
Sierra
hello.
Boggess. Guys, how are you both doing?
Good. How are you?
I am, we're here in New York City, battling this craziness outside, but bringing in a lot of happiness and light and warmth into the house. So that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a phenomenon this past weekend, hasn't it, with Phantom of the Opera being back in such action?
Yeah, well, see, I was saying earlier, when I texted you earlier, I was like, there's a couple million who have already watched, and at this point, there's over 5 million, and it's about to hit America properly. I know it's been running for a bit, but I think tonight is your big push and hopefully big American theater outing, and I can't believe it. See, don't you think I feel like it's happening all over again.
Yeah. I mean, it really, yesterday when we were live streaming, it was just like, it felt like showtime. Felt like I wasn't eating. It felt like we were like on, did you have that? 'Cause I was like, oh God, like by the end, I was like, I didn't even eat today, like as if we're doing a show. It's so weird.
The night before, I had that, you ever have that dream where you're on stage and you don't know your lines and you wake up, you're like, oh, I'm like, what am I doing? All you have to do is press play. That's all.
I know we're not accustomed to this just like movie situation. We're accustomed to being live. So it was really cool to that we are getting to watch this live with everybody. That's what's so amazing, because both Doreen and I, obviously we couldn't do that when this was happening. And so it's just like it's I don't know, I think I'm a little bit at a loss for words about the whole experience so far.
And it's also 9 years after you actually filmed it, because this was filmed back in 2011 at Royal Albert Hall. And for US and Americans that have no idea what Royal Albert Hall is, it's a 5,000 person venue that was built in 1871 by Queen Victoria in London. It's absolutely gorgeous, but so different than a normal theater. What
Yeah.
was it like to work in such a massive capacity or a massive space such as that? Because it's very different than being, in a regular, theater that we see musicals in on the daily.
Yeah, it's completely different. It's one of the biggest halls and most ornate and stunning halls that I've ever been in. And I had only done concerts there because every summer they do the BBC proms there. And it's called proms because it's a promenade. So usually there's probably more than 5,000 seats, I feel like.
I think it's
There's
like 5,271 or something, if I remember correctly.
maybe those,
I didn't look.
because there's seats around the whole thing. It's in the round. But for this, they had to take out. Royal Albert Hall had never done anything like this before. They had to take out all the seats that go around or behind the stage because we were doing an actual show. It was like, I remember everybody, like the people that were like making sure we know where we have to go and stuff. A lot of people were stressed because it's never been done like this before. And we know the timing of the show is so important too, of like, everybody's asking us how'd you get from the stage to the top of the thing to sing and stuff. And like, we ran, we run. It's crazy.
Well, it's a very athletic show, not only for, the vocality and for your voices, but I mean, also with the dancing. Sierra, I have to say that your ballet work in there is absolutely extraordinary.
Thank you. I will shout out to a woman named Denny Berry, who's been Gillian's associate on this since the beginning. And she's the resident choreographer for the Broadway company and has been since the beginning. And she prepped me to come over to London because I hadn't done the show since Las Vegas in 2006. So I had never done all of that choreography. So she really worked with me and prepped me for all of the choreography because, as you know, we didn't have much time to put this on. We had about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks to get this all together. So there was no time for Jilly to teach me, you know, the steps. You just needed to know them.
That's pretty amazing that you had 2 weeks to put this on, because it is so different than having done it, you know, at the theater itself. Ramin, did you feel that it was an absolute adventure? What were your thoughts behind, you know, the process of learning the show in such a different capacity? Because you had been in the show, you know, previously and then, you know, afterwards, but it was very different probably for you as Phantom in this capacity as well.
100%. And I did it about 2 years prior to that, because we've just finished Love Never Dies, and then that was the last time I ever played the part of Phantom, was the Royal Albert Hall. It's the last time I wore the mask, and I remember going into it with C and working with her on it. I'm so grateful that it was Sierra working with me on that, because we had to have a shorthand right away. And I remember our first, was it day one, we did Music of the Night rehearsal. Yep. It just worked. I think even the team was like, well, that works. You know, if we had to take 5. And it was a exciting puzzle to put together as well, for a show that we felt we knew, but to relearn into a whole new space. As Sierra says, it's a bigger space. We also had to be aware that we're filming this, and there's going to be, the storytelling is going to be caught on a lens, but there's still an audience. And anything that I kind of felt could have been stressful turned out to be, you know, a fun, creative challenge. And then when you're matched with a leading lady like Sierra and a leading man like Hadley, and then you get a company like that in a team, and like you say, with that were guiding us, we were in great hands, and there was just a great support. Everyone there was there to have a great time, and amongst all the chaos, there was joy, love, community feeling. It was great.
And I think what's also awesome, and folks, when you're watching this in just a little bit, you'll also see that most of the original creative team was also involved in the Royal Albert Hall production. How amazing is that? That 25 years to that point, when it was the 25th anniversary, you had most of the original creative team that was there to lead, direct, and show you, you know, a completely new Phantom of the Opera.
Well, that's the thing that was always so special about somebody like Gillian Lynne, is that till the day she died, she was checking in on all the companies of Phantom, of Cats. It's like this integrity that is, I don't know if it exists anymore. It's the most extraordinary thing that I've ever witnessed. And it's not just to show up and just be there and sit down. I mean, Jilly was, what if that was 9 years ago, she was well in her 80s, and she was showing us, she's up on the stage, she's showing us everything. She cares so much. I mean, she is within like all the DNA of my Christine, like hands down. More than half of what I do is movement based. And just even how she would always talk to me about, when the Phantom comes in, he disturbs the air around you. And so it feels like, watching the show back, it's like, it feels, and I don't know if you felt this, Ramin, but it's like, it feels like you're on stage longer than you actually physically are, because when we hear you, I have this feeling, you're always with us. And it's so smart too about the staging anyways, is that it's just like, you always feel. But so anytime that the Phantom is in my mind or anything, there's movement involved, and that's Jilly.
Yeah, and it must be also very tough. You know, the past 2 years have been hard, having lost not only Jilly, but also Hal Prince, who was the director of the show. What's one of your fondest memories, Ramin, of having worked with Hal?
Well, I had the fortune to work with Hal a lot on the world premiere of Prince of Broadway, and at least we got to work on Music of the Night together for that production. You know, Hal was a great guy, and I found he could say a lot with the least amount of words, you know, and he was just always good spirits and let you get on with it. And I remember we would talk about, I know this is not Phantom, but one of the section was Being Alive, and me and him had a lot of discussions about that, and I felt like we were somehow going like that. And after 4 weeks get together, and I'll never forget, he sits down beside me. I understand what you're doing in that song now, and he was very complimentary, and so I'm not going to repeat that. But the point was that he kind of even if he wasn't fully on board right away, he's like, let him run with it. Let's see what happens. He'll drop a few nuggets. Oh, I get you. I know where you're going with this now. And so he lets you play. And then every now and then he reminds you of the overall picture. So you're not so, because you should be not so, it's not about you, it's about serving this piece. And Hal was great at always keeping that as your ultimate overall arc. You know, you're there to serve the story, the overall story, and everyone else is, if not more important than you on that stage.
Well, I think you both definitely have not only served your due diligence with your roles as Christine and Phantom, but also with all the roles and performances that you both have done. And talking about serving, that's what we're here for. So we're not only watching Phantom of the Opera this weekend for the fun of it, but it's also to give back to our community. So ladies and gentlemen, when you go on YouTube to play the video of Phantom of the Opera or the movie, you're going to see up at the top right a little button that says donate, and that money that is being donated up at that button is going to the Actors Fund. So it was founded in 1882 to support everyone in entertainment, and this March 20th, 2020, they started the COVID-19 Emergency Relief Fund, which is giving back to not only emergency and relief workers, but also those that are in the community that are affected from the coronavirus 19. Also, if you look below, you're going to see links for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, NHS in London, Acting for Others in the UK, as well as the Australia's Actors Benefit Fund, or Benevolent Fund, excuse me. All these are worthwhile causes, and we hope that if you can give a penny, $1, $1 million, it's all going to the people that need the support as badly and as much needed as possible. So it's really a wonderful thing. Let's go back. I have a couple more questions for you before we hit the road and start watching the show this evening. I'm so excited to watch it again with everybody.
I'm nervous again. I'm nervous.
Well,
hey, listen, it's better to have those butterflies and just sit there and be like, okay, click and watch. I always love having the butterflies. Sierra, yesterday on Phantom of the Opera Broadway's Instagram page, you took over and you gave some Easter eggs, right? Mm-hmm. Are there any Easter eggs that either of you would like to share for maybe something that people should look for, or not in oops, but maybe something that you were thinking of or something that happened on stage during the filming that people wouldn't notice without having a little bit of insight?
Okay, well, I'll just say mine really quick, Ramin. Is that okay?
Yes, because it might inspire me to find one. Go ahead.
There it is. Okay, so the first thing is there's so many people within the company. It's like there's 140 people in this company as opposed to the stage show, which is like, I don't even know, less than 50. It's still one of the bigger companies on Broadway, which doesn't happen anymore, and the West End, but 140 people. So within the company that you guys are gonna watch, there are people that are former Christines, Phantoms, Raoul's, Carlottas, Giris. It's the most extraordinary thing. So you can, especially in the opening scene of Hannibal, you can really try and see like who your favorite people are that you might have been the one that got you into this Phantom that you saw, this Christine, this Raoul that you saw in the West End that made you like want to do this. They might be in there, so you can look for that. The other thing that I just think is really special is that there's original cast members. So some of the original London company is in there. Two of those times to look for is, first of all, Masquerade, you'll notice, is 3 times larger than the stage production. And that's because Gilly made sure that there were all these people, there's triples of the little band that starts out with the monkey, that I'm talking to everybody like they're fans of Phantom because I feel like they are. And so they know what I'm talking about. It's called the Little Band, and there's like a little monkey and a clown, and the original little band is the first little band that you see. So that's a really, really cool thing. And then the other thing I want to say, the second to last thing I want to say is that Rosie Ash who was the original Carlotta in the London company. She is playing who's called the confidant in our production, which is right in the Il Muto scene before the opera happens, where Christine's supposed to be the silent page boy and Carlotta is singing the role. And she's the one who comes out and they're like, hee, and she's like, they say that this youth has set my lady's heart aflame. That line, that woman is Rosie Ash, the original Carlotta, and I think that's so cool.
And also your I'm sorry, real quick though, your Phantom from France plays Passerino, correct?
Yes. So the man that was supposed to be my Phantom for the all French company of Phantom of the Opera is named Gadar Cortez, and he is you'll see him twice. You can pick him out easier in this one, which is in the Sitz probe scene where Piangi can't sing the right note, and we have the player piano in the second act right before I sing Wishing. And Gardar is the one who's sitting and he just starts laughing and thinks the whole thing is funny. That's him. And then his next feature is right before we sing Past the Point of No Return, and he's Passerino. So that's his feature. So yeah, that. Now, one last thing is a mishap that I saw yesterday when we live streamed that I feel like I was like, oh, this would be funny to tell people. So thank you. Is when after Music of the Night and I've taken Ramin's mask off and we have to leave, and then I give it back to you and you say, come, we must return. And we start running, and you'll notice my negligee is so wrapped around my legs, and we're like, but you have to keep going. And I want to say this because it happens all the time in all the productions. And I'm sure, Ramin, that you had this with like a bunch of Christines too. That's like always, and you're just trying to like take tiny little steps so that neither of you falls, neither of you stepping on a negligee. So that's some Easter eggs.
Those are good.
Ramin?
I'm not adding to that because there's a lot to look out for. There's nothing I can add to that. I think what she said.
I have an Easter egg for both of you real quick. The amazing chandelier that was 4,000 pounds. Do you know that it has an actual name from the Royal Albert Hall production?
Yes, Maria.
And it was named after Maria Bornson, who created not only all of the scenic design, but also the costumes and the iconic Phantom mask. So we are just about out of time. I want to thank Ramin and Sierra so much for your time again. This couldn't have happened without your support, also without the support from the one and only Andrew Lloyd Webber and Real Useful Group, Cameron Mackintosh, Ashley and Lena over at Think Jam, to my team, Vic and Ray. And also we have a fan shout out. We have a fan shout out to one of the biggest Phantom fans that has seen it and absolutely loves it. Her name is Marissa Winzig. So Marissa, thank you so much for all of your Phantomness. We are so happy to have you and the millions of viewers support from around the entire world. But most importantly, make sure to click that Actors Fund button or any of the benefit fund relief that you can share with any of those different organizations. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure. Are you guys ready to watch Phantom of the Opera?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I need you guys to help me count down from 5, okay? And then we're all going to go on youtube.com/the shows must go on and hit that play button, okay? Let's start with 5.
Before you do, can I just add one quick thing?
Yeah.
About the donations, I know there's great, and everyone's want to donate to the charity, especially if in their area. But I would love to just give a little push for I know everyone's doing a great job, but I know Australian artists are hit really hard right now. And I know the Actors Benevolent Fund is probably something that could use a little more attention, especially for our Australian artists out there. So listen, they're all great, but if there is a chance that you can give a little extra push for the Actors Benevolent Fund, knowing what our Australian colleagues are going through right now, which we all are, but I know they've been hit hard. So I just wanted to add that, if that's okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, we can't thank you guys enough again for your support and everything. Make sure to follow them online. Make sure to follow Broadway Buzz online. That's at Broadway_Buzz, because you never know who's going to pop up on social media, especially when we're all here at home having a good time watching shows like the Phantom of the Opera. So thanks, guys, again for your time. All right, it's time to hit that button. Are we ready? Let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit that play button. It's showtime.